Nope, most certainly didn't.
You
but
weren't OBS when you put the key in there, Joe.
OBS for days. OBS for days, right, everybody? Welcome to Friday's live stream on AVADirect's Facebook and social media channels.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. I'm Joe.
I'm Zack.
Thanks for joining us. We have quite a few topics to discuss as usual. More or less, a lot more tech heavy than gaming heavy, but still just as interesting.
Everybody's just waving their arms lately like, hey, look at all the tech we're releasing.
I mean, we're not releasing the tech, but we're releasing the news and the discussions. So, I mean, that counts for something, maybe. So, I guess we'll start off this live stream with the news that everybody's just buzzing about. That's NVIDIA's new touring architecture. Zack, what are your thoughts on it so far?
I don't know what to think yet until I see some performance metrics, but it's looking promising just based on the hardware specs. I mean, we're looking at over 4,000 cores for the higher end product.
RT cores.
Yeah.
Might I add?
4,608 cores for their, or wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong one. My bad, correction. 5,120 cores for their flagship.
5,120.
Yeah, so it should pack a serious punch.
All the cores for days. Well, I mean, they're also using a combination of Volta's tensor cores too. And it seems like, I mean, it's no secret that they're starting to focus more on ray tracing. That's the whole point of this new RTX moniker.
Right.
So you got the RTX 8000, you got the RTX 6000, and then the RTX 5000. What happened to 7000?
I don't know. It seems to be a popular thing where you just skip numbers. I mean,
maybe it's reserved for like a refresh. Maybe, you know, once RTX kind of has its feet wet with the moniker and the style and design that they're going with for these cards, 7000 will just be kind of a reserved spot for refresh.
I mean, maybe. You never know. But like I said, you see it with a lot of companies. I mean, take Windows, for example. Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, then Windows 10. Where'd Windows 9 go?
Maybe Windows 9 will come soon. Maybe they'll backtrack like, we're going to go back to the way things used to be.
Yeah.
Because 10 wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be.
Just don't trust the numbers anymore, though. So
No. So still using GDDR6 memory, moving to that now, rather not still.
Yeah.
With a combined maximum amount of 48 gigabytes. I kind of feel like now that they're just throwing memory allocation at these cards rather than optimizing. I mean, that's something I brought up on previous live streams, that they just keep throwing hardware at cards rather than optimizing
Yeah.
the capable amount of bandwidth.
I mean, it's definitely an approach that works, and I don't think they're entirely opposed to it just because of the fact that it makes them money. So,
Mutation 666 states that if prices suck, who cares? And I mean, you got to understand the mutation that for professionals, the kinds of performance metrics that these RTX cards will provide, it's justifiable, especially if you have a workstation that allows you to make money off of what you do on it.
yeah.
I mean, we're looking at a price point of $10,000 for the RTX 8000, right? And that bottoms all the way down to 2.4K. So, I mean, they're obviously going to have smaller cards, I would imagine, because
Right.
you have all of the smaller end digital display focused Quadro cards now. So I can only assume that they'll have that same option with these cards, or maybe not. Who knows?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is with some of these companies, they're so large that money is no object. They make so much off of the types of R&D and work they're doing with these cards that it doesn't matter what they cost. And obviously, companies like NVIDIA recognize that.
Right. Well, Gerard W98 asks, touring architecture? Where are they touring? All across the globe.
Around the world, around the world.
Around the world, around the world. And all of the cards, or at least the cards that we've listed, the 3, will feature 4 display ports and the virtual link capable interface. That was also something we talked about previously, and that's where that's what Oculus is currently working on in their reported next-gen headset. 1 cable, several different types of displays included. That's your video, that's your controllers, that's your sensors. I mean, could be everything. That is something that I'm excited to hear about, considering the fact that that means that it's like a definite thing. Like, it's going to be happening next generation. We're not going to be waiting until 2020 for, some things 10 nanometer process. And it's on the fast tracks to actually getting done. So
Yeah.
that makes me happy.
Less cables is always nice, but I'd be interested to see if it's a costly cable or not. I wouldn't be surprised if it's fairly expensive.
Like monster cables back in the day.
Yeah.
You can buy a $180 HDMI cable to get full bandwidth and true color clarity.
Yeah.
So that means, like, if this cable retailed for like $80, let's say, just for like a replacement cable, if Monster came out with a version, it would be like $300.
Yeah. You can pay as much as you want for cables, though. I've seen them.
I don't.
get up
I cut the
there.
cord long ago. I don't pay for cable. I mean, I do.
Good for you, Joe.
Legally, I do, but I don't. Anyways, what was your next topic?
So, still on the topic of NVIDIA, it looks like they'll be releasing some gaming cards soon, or at least
Will they? Will they, though?
That's what we're led to believe with their hashtag B for the game campaign.
Did you say B for the game or beef the game?
B for the game.
Got it. Like before the game happened, or like B for the game?
It's I'm sure a lot of you out there watching have noticed a lot of different social media outlets changing their profile picture to green with hashtag B for the game, and not much to think other than something's going on with NVIDIA gaming. So it's allegedly we'll be seeing something happen next week, as indicated in the video they just recently released.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a sneak peek teaser of like a graphics card shroud and heatsink, and you're just like, that looks like a 1080. But I mean, we can only imagine that if they are to release new cards soon, they will likely stick to the RTX. You think?
So what I've seen so far is the speculation is that the higher tier cards are going to be RTX, while the lower tier cards are going to stay as GTX. Not entirely sure what the reasoning behind that is, but we'll just have to wait and see, or if that even is what's going to happen.
I mean, it's hard to say. NVIDIA has certainly done things before to kind of lead us into one direction only to take us to another.
Right.
I mean, they did this when they made the jump from the 9800 series, or the 9000 series, back in 2008, and then they jumped to, oh no, it's the GTX 200 series now.
Yeah.
And then they jumped to the 300, and they went straight to the 4, and then they went to 5, and then 6, and then 7, and then jumped 8, went to 9.
You got to mix it up sometimes to grab attention, and I think that's what they felt like. They just wanted to make some sort of statement, especially after it being over 2 years now since they debuted with the 1000 series.
Right.
So
less than 72 hours, they apparently plan to announce what's going to happen? Will NVIDIA seal their fate? We will never know until 72 hours from now. And they legit have a live stream countdown. So, I mean, go to NVIDIA.com and you can check it out if you really want to invest your time and energy for them to tell you what may or may not happen. But what I do hope happens is reportedly and supposedly, high-end cards are going to have as much of a performance increase as 50%, while the mid-tier cards are going to have a performance increase of 40% compared to the current architecture.
While it is somewhat impressive, I also can't say that I'm surprised. I mean, this is about the longest we've had to wait for a new generation in a long time. I can't remember the last time. It's taken over 2 years.
I mean, it kind of, to me, it's like, it's a series of terrible timings, only because you got Asus and Acer releasing their HDR monitors that are going to require you to have cards that are capable of pushing 4K to the frame rates that you would need to in order to really see what those monitors can do for you. And now they're releasing cards. Yeah. I kind of feel trepidatious, though, to feel excited in a sense, because when you start using that your cards are available as a marketing strategy to sell them, that's a problem. I know we're kind of past what happened with all the whole mining kerfuffle that happened earlier this year, but what are they going to do with pricing? I know, but what are they going to do? What are they going to do with the pricing? Are we going to look at similar pricing to what we're used to after the price hikes happen, or is pricing going to drop down to what we would prefer and what we were used to prior?
That's what I would hope for, but a lot of people I've talked to, and myself included, I think they're just slowly trying to make it more normal for these things to be more expensive. Right. I mean, as a business, that's what you do. It's not because they're trying to be evil. They're trying to make more money.
That's right. And even to add kind of a little more confusion to people that may not be kind of hip to industry lingo or just people that are casual gamers, we now have RTX cards by NVIDIA, and now there's RX cards. Well, there were. NVIDIA was using the Vega moniker, so either that's a step that AMD was going to take moving forward, and they'll continue to use the Vega name, or they'll have a series of RX cards, and NVIDIA will have a series of RTX cards.
I think it's funny because we're seeing this between AMD and Intel with their chipsets.
Yeah, our X470.
X399 for AMD, and then X299 for Intel.
Yeah, but then there's X470, and then there's Z. Like AMD's got the X, Intel's got the Z.
I think it's funny that these competing brands just want to have similar branding. There has to be some sort of theory behind it.
You know, Zach, it was reported that the GPP program really would have fixed that kind of confusion for people. It's a shame it didn't work out.
No. I couldn't even go along with that. Absolutely not. No. I'm glad it's gone.
So, reportedly rumored that the GTX series cards that will exist will be sub $300. Which, if that's anything to kind of think about, that's only going to mean that the high-end cards should follow a similar price point, because that's right where the X60 cards landed previously in price point. They're around $250, more or less, depending on if you had like a superclock model or if it was like a base model.
It definitely seems the norm, but it seems more like what NVIDIA is going for is not necessarily raising prices across the board. Is what they're trying to do is make more higher end products. So your baseline products will still be at the same price points, but then now you have more up higher.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Maybe this will also give them the excuse to come out with display cards that are a reasonable price and the part numbers actually make sense, i.e. GT 1030. Anywho, since we were on the subject of AMD, AMD has also released a refresh of the WX 9100. It's a watered-down version, really, more or less. So it is dubbed the WX 8200 with a price point of $999.
Yeah. So what is that? About half?
It is. It's half the single precision compute performance versus the 9100. It's...
Let me correct you. Price is about half. The precision performance is actually very close.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, price is half. The performance is similar in that regard. But you're still looking at kind of stream processors 3584 compared to 4096, and that's really not enough to really cry about in regards to your price per dollar. I mean, it's based on the Vega's 14 nanometer process, so you'll get a little bit of the lesser heat generation, and it'll consume less power. And I don't know, I kind of feel like that is this something that AMD is doing to kind of hold out until their next series cards? Do you think that they came out with this card because they anticipated that NVIDIA was going to be releasing their RTX Touring cards?
This is a strategy we've seen the AMD graphics department use time and time again, is where they try and refresh their products in a manner that keeps people interested just because they're playing catch up. And I'm interested to see what they do in the future, though, because they got to do something big. You know, you can't just...
Things are falling down by themselves.
No.
We have ghosts. Just saying.
But they've got to have some sort of big plan in store. I mean, they were just doing these incremental refreshes to keep the attention. So when they do finally release their new product, it's not like the AMD's disappeared.
That's true. We don't want AMD to disappear.
Absolutely not. I very much like their products.
Zack has some really upsetting news to discuss, even though we really already know all about it.
Yeah.
But let's just rip the Band-Aid off, Zack.
Caselabs closed its doors. They cited new tariffs for materials coming from China being the biggest issue. They claimed that they were trying to work out some new deals to keep afloat, and they just didn't go through. It's definitely pretty sad because they're one of the really big players in custom cases.
I mean, they were a huge inspiration. I know there were a lot of case manufacturers that drew inspiration from their designs and what they were doing.
Absolutely. I mean, most recently and infamously, a lot of people claim that Thermaltake straight up ripped them off.
Oh, well, we're not. That's not even a discussion that's even worth talking about.
I just wanted to mention that it's definitely had some influence.
It has. I mean, I'm sure, but. I mean, I think realistically that was a company that started this whole movement, and just to see them go, I mean, somebody's got to pass on the torch. Somebody needs to swoop in, like the company that owns Past Blue Ribbon did with Hostess, and save Caselabs, and either bring them somewhere to where those tariffs aren't going to tear them apart, or maybe bring them U.S. Anybody in the U.S., if you have monies, invest in Caselabs and save the day, please.
I mean, they must have had some sort of difficulty sourcing materials elsewhere where these tariffs weren't killing them, because if it was only specifically China, then it couldn't have been impossible. There's got to be more to it.
Well, that's the thing. It's because of what the Trump administration has been doing to put all of these expensive tariffs on Chinese imported goods, because right now the U.S. and China are going through trade wars because of these tariffs. Yeah. The Trump administration keeps increasing the cost for U.S. companies to do business with overseas companies, because he's trying to motivate people to do business in the U.S. and do their manufacturing in the U.S. And companies are closing down left and right. So is this kind of the other side of that strategy that people are now starting to see? Because they made it sound like this was going to be something that was going to be awesome. Like, oh, it's going to create U.S. jobs. It's going to force you to stop getting materials from overseas and get them in the U.S. and create more jobs here.
The thing about these sort of strategies is, at first, they're terrible, or at least they seem terrible, just because of you have this natural side effect of you have companies that just can't figure out how to source their materials differently, and sometimes it's not really possible, which is another downside. And I mean, we could talk politics all day, but there's really no perfect solution.
No, but I will say this.
And unfortunately, Caselabs is just one of the companies that just got caught up in this and couldn't find a way out.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to consider, think about the aesthetics too of Caselabs cases. Caselabs cases, they were great in construction and quality. If anybody who's actually worked with the Caselabs case, you knew, like, this is going to be easy and great to build in. I could drop this thing off a cliff and it's still going to be one piece.
Right.
But they were kind of plain looking in most respects.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that kind of played a role?
I mean, it definitely did. Because if you have a product that's truly like, I have to have it, then I feel like they could have found a way to keep their doors open. But aesthetically, their product line was very much the same, which isn't really a bad thing, but it kept their audience very niche. It limited what they could do with their brand.
That's true. You're not wrong. Well, we wish best of luck to anybody who is working with or at Caselabs. We certainly hope that you get back up on your feet soon. And we hope somebody rescues the brand, or at least carries a torch. Either way.
Yeah.
Now to move on to even more semi-depressing news. there is a new security flaw in processors known as foreshadow.
Yay.
And why you do this?
It seems like Intel can't catch a break. It seems like everybody's just gunning for these security flaws now.
Well, the worst thing about it is, other than Spectrum, what this does is it attacks the SGX. And that's something that anybody is ever able to have access to or ever see the light of day of. And speaking of light of day, the SGX has a special key that never is released for any reason. And that's basically, for anybody who doesn't understand what that is, it's basically a secure vault inside the CPU that when information passes through it, it can't be copied, it can't be written, it can't be seen. It is so if you are doing things like government agencies are doing things that require a lot of computing, and there's sensitive data that cannot be replicated in any way, shape, or form, it's processed through the SGX, or secure vault. So basically, what foreshadow does is one of two things. It can either read the data and destroy it, or it can write it and copy it. So, my question is, what are they going to do to fix this one? Because as far as I know, Spectrum was just the ability to be able to take a peek inside.
Right.
For the most part. This is like full-fledged, like, I'm going to burn it.
This is a difficult problem to solve because I really can't see how you can slap a Band-Aid on something like this and have it work.
No.
You know?
No, you just... Do we just take our processors now and just burn them? Burn them to the ground? Like, well, I'm working on top secret stuff, so can I see that CPU for a second so I can 28 core that, and take it outside and burn it?
This is definitely bad. I feel like they're going to release a patch and then someone's going to find just a few days later that it doesn't really fix the issue because, again, you can do anything with this sort of vulnerability, and if you're going up into microcode level or software level,
I know. Well, to that note, there was something growing up and seeing all these people starting to crack hardware open, and that could be anything from PCs to consoles, and find exploits for things. The way that it was always explained to me by my older brother was that you'll never be able to stop things from getting hacked. You can only make it more difficult. Like, it is impossible to make anything unhackable. You can only make it more difficult. And for one, look at like what Sony has done. Look at what Microsoft has done with the Xbox One X, Xbox One X, and the Switch. I mean, I can't really use the Switch as an example because there was a massive security flaw in the Tegra processor that led a lot of people to break that right open and just write firmware to it.
That actually played to the user's advantage, though.
It absolutely did, which is, NVIDIA fixed quickly by releasing a batch of Tegra processors that fixed that flaw in new Switches, so it's not possible, unless you got an early box Switch. But anywho, I think what Intel needs to do, and AMD should probably follow suit too, so they don't become victim of things. Because I know Ryzen processors had some issues with Spectrum too.
Right.
You just need to make it more difficult, make it impossible. Find the one thing that everybody's doing because it makes it impossible to hack or more difficult is DRM, and online DRM. I really hate to say that, but
yeah, when I hear that, I feel a pain in my heart because I'm not a fan of DRM of any form. But
no, but you got to look at it. At least give people the option. Like, what if that you have OEM processors, you have retail processors. Intel could create a special processor or a program to where they could write microcode to the CPU if it's being used for data-sensitive purposes to the government. And then it's going to be provided to them with the understanding that you always have to be online to use this processor. Maybe the board connects through a PXE boot option that connects to a secure Intel server and then loops back, and then it's like, okay, here's your operating system, and then that's the way that it could be handled.
Yeah, we both know that's going to open a whole new can of worms if they attempt something like that, though, because then they're going to find vulnerabilities in the always online, and they'll take advantage of that.
As long as you don't open that can of worms.
It's like you were just saying earlier. There's everything is always vulnerable in some way, and hackers will find a way.
I mean, as long as you don't open up the can of worms and they're all dead and filled with exploits like Spectrum and Foreshadow. I mean, because you open up a can of dead worms, you're just like, oh, you just throw it away. And that's it. Just saying. Okay, so let's move on to our AVA news. As you guys know, we have our back-to-school sale. That sale also includes 10% off on select PCs. I mean, now's the time. I mean, we don't really work on aggressive margins to begin with. Some of our competitors do because of their focus, and we do a little of everything. So I mean, this really is a great deal. You're getting borderline with this deal. to have a very similar discount as employees would get. So get in on it while you can. That's all I can say, because I don't think we're going to have a sale this great for a while. Still have sales, but this is our back to school sales are one of our best because it's A, middle of the year, and B, that's usually when more of the new tech comes out. So
yeah,
get on it.
It's definitely when people are looking for computers too.
That's when I'm looking for PCs, and I'm not even in school. AVADirect EVGA's Anniversary Edition PC will be given away here soon with the 8086 Anniversary Edition processor. So
it's a pretty sweet system. I especially like the case.
It's a real sweet system, and we're selling that system on our site. So you jump online, you can configure it, you can buy the base configuration, whatever you want to do. And then, of course, we're still doing AMD's gaming bundle. Gaming bundle still includes Strange Brigade, Star Control Origins, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which, to me, Assassin's Creed Odyssey kind of felt like that game Rise from Xbox One. Did you ever play that game?
I believe I have.
Yeah, that's the kind of feel I got from it. And if it's similar to that, I know they're not really going to mimic that gameplay in any way, shape, or form, but if it's similar to that, that'd be pretty cool, right?
I mean, it's impossible to be truly original. So I do enjoy when games play off of other games sometimes,
Yes.
as long as they do it correctly.
No, absolutely. I mean, can't go wrong there. So, on to the next topic. Zachary?
So Microsoft is hiring people left and right out from under other companies such as Sony and Rockstar.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is it's definitely an aggressive move, and it makes you wonder what they're planning. They must have something big in mind if they're picking people off from other companies.
I think that they understand that they are getting the crap beat out of them in the exclusivity wars, and that's exactly what they're trying to do, is they're trying to get a leg up, right? They're trying to make sure that they can get back to releasing the content that they were when the Xbox first came out, because nobody expected Halo to be as big of a hit as it was.
Halo is huge.
They're coming out with another Halo. Again, I thought that ship sailed. No, it's still here. It's got a bunch of rusty hooks and worn out sails, and it's still sailing away on the ocean of money. So, yeah, it should have died after Reach. That's a good point, Brooke.
Yeah.
Not gonna argue that. I mean, it's ironic too because they were
It
definitely
just kind of limped along.
they
since
were
then.
definitely reaching to keep the Halo franchise alive. So I felt like the ironic significance in that. And then it kept going. They're like, no, Halo 5. Oh, and by the way, Halo Anniversary Edition for the Xbox One.
I mean, it's one of those series that the nostalgia keeps it alive, and I think with these this new team of talent they're trying to bring in, they're looking to do that again because you can't live off of nostalgia forever.
I mean, you can. Like, you could milk nostalgia for all it's worth.
Nintendo comes to mind.
Yeah, but I think Nintendo also needs to, like, you heard about everything that's going on with, like, Nintendo cracking down on, like, ROM usage, right?
Yeah, I've been keeping up with that, and it's kind of sad.
It's sad, but I think Nintendo needs to kind of profit off that a little bit. Like, if you're going to do that, that's fine. It's your intellectual property. Like,
Right.
You need to protect what's yours. But people obviously aren't done with these games if they're still being downloaded.
Yep.
You know? I think that's a major reason as to why game sales are even as good as they are now, is because you have parents that grew up playing video games that have no problems getting their kids games, one. And two, you have big kids that can spend big person money and not have a problem with it. So give us, like, the ability to purchase the whole suite of Nintendo classics and Super Nintendo, and Sega join in on the fun too, because why not? And you'll make money, but it's like nobody wants to do it. They want to release the virtual console stuff, and they want to release, like, the classic edition things, and it's a waste of time. Just give us the ability to play it on any platform we want, pay for the right to use it, and be done.
Yeah, that would definitely be a great way to go about it, but I don't know. Someone, or I shouldn't say someone, multiple people in the company obviously believe otherwise.
What do you mean?
It's, well, we see multiple companies that go about this approach with their exclusives, and I think the idea behind it is when you have your exclusives like that, it generates sales with other things that maybe someone wouldn't normally buy.
Right.
So once you get someone into your ecosystem, you can sell more product, and I think that's why we see that sort of approach for creating these exclusives.
Right.
Because you're not creating exclusives just to sell the exclusives. You're creating exclusives to sell your platform.
Right. I mean, that's true. And I think if everybody wasn't so stuck on just selling their platform, we would probably have less of the exclusives. But I mean, like, Casey loves anything that Naughty Dog comes out with, and honestly, I would probably love it too. I would love it too. Oh, I do. I mean, dude, The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 is coming out.
Fantastic game.
It's gonna suck my time away. It's definitely a time suck, and that's what Casey was like with all of the Nathan Drake titles, the Uncharted titles, and I'd probably be Uncharted 2 if I had the ability to play it on a PC. I mean, what was the game that came out for Xbox first that was done by Quantic Dream? It was Quantum Break, right? Is that what it was? It had that.
I think so.
It had that one actor in it that's played a few roles. That's famous. He was in the original X-Men movie, and he was Iceman or whatever his name is. I'm not a huge X-Men fan, to be honest with you.
Neither am I. I don't know. Name's not coming to mind.
Yeah, it's not. But I didn't play that until that came out on the PC. But that is a good game. You should check it out if you haven't played it. It's just it's real narrative driven if you're into that kind of thing. Otherwise, go play Fortnite. If that's what you want to do. Speaking of ridiculousness, Resident Evil 2 has a premium edition. That's $900.
What? That's just crazy.
900. I mean, if I was a bachelor and I had nothing else to spend my money on, I guess I'd get an actual Bluetooth keyboard that was a Resident Evil typewriter.
They're definitely shooting for the fans that have been there since the beginning, because I can't see someone who's just recently jumped into a series be like, yeah, I want to spend $900 on this.
I mean, I've been there since the beginning. It was the one game that I played when I was probably I was in, I want to say first or second grade.
So yeah, you've been there since the beginning.
Yeah, and I remember I played Resident Evil, and it was kept in my brother's room because he was the older brother, and I couldn't argue. And even though it was my PlayStation, he would still punch me in the throat. And I got to the part where the dog jumped out of the glass, and I freaked, and my initial reaction was just to hit the power button.
Oh, a lot of people freaked out at that part. that part's infamous. I haven't even played the first one, but I know about that scene.
I don't know. I don't know what that was about me when I played jump scare games when I was a kid. Even like there was like a PC game where it was it had a lot of blue colors to it, and there was a haunted house, and you'd walk in, and it was one of those games where you'd point the arrow right, and you go right, you point the arrow left, you go forward, you move forward, and all it would do is really just change the picture.
Yeah.
So there was no movement. It was just
super old school.
Right. It's like, here's the hallway. You hit forward, now it's this. You hit right, now it's this. And at one point I turned, and there's a dog in my face, and again, my initial reaction was, ah! And then just hit the power button, and that was it. Like, I just forced shut down, because back then, like, there was no, like, really proper way to shut down PC in terms of shutdown, and then it does the thing. Right. I hit the power button and shut it off immediately. So I just kind of sat there a little bit, and I'm like, I could turn it back on, but I don't know how to log back into Windows, so I just walked away. And my dad was really upset because he played, like, this submarine game when I was a kid, where you were, like, a commander up against like the German army in World War II, and you steal a U-boat, and I think he had it kind of like running in the background, and I shut the PC off, and he came back, and he was like, "What is this? Where's my game?"
Way to go, Joe!
I didn't play the fifth. I didn't do it.
So, what all's included in this Resident Evil bundle?
Well, there's figurines. There's apparently a T-virus vial in one of them. I mean, what the F virus, Capcom? Like, seriously? Come on. Like, where's Resident Evil 7 VR for the PC? It's a completely separate topic, but exclusivity was done on that in January. So, chop. Let's get it rolling. I got a VR headset, so I can do that. So please, by all means. But we're going to go ahead and see Resident Evil 2 editions. I do want to see everything that's involved in it, or included. GameStop has an edition for $200, which, we're all used to. And that looks like it comes with extra DLC card pack, which is 2 Leon costumes, 4 Claire costumes, a deluxe weapon, a samurai edge, Albert model.
What?
When did Albert have a sword? I guess. Oh, and then the soundtrack. Special deluxe packaging. I see a Leon Kennedy statue, and I think that's ridiculously sexist, because where's the Claire statue? What if you want a Claire statue? And you don't like Leon because his haircut's silly.
So you think there should be 2 different $200 versions? One with Claire, one with Leon?
Or maybe make it $250 and you get both. I'm just saying. Like, I mean, I like Leon. He kind of grew on me as the series went on. He became kind of less of a tool and more of like a guy that could get stuff done, like Chris Redfield. If you watch any of the CGI movies, which I do because I myself am a tool, he plays a pretty good character, and the voice actor plays him. It's the same voice actor over and over, so not a big deal. So
whoops,
it's okay. It happens. But I mean, I'm just nitpicking at this point. I'm being honest.
Yeah. So the $900 version actually has a typewriter in it.
It's Bluetooth enabled.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I've seen similar products to this release before that actually do sell for a lot. So maybe they might be onto something with their price point, just because of the fact that any true typewriter keyboard I've seen have retailed for $300, $400, $500. So
what do you think they're on to? Like the money train?
I mean,
is that what they're on? Choo choo! Give me your money.
Yeah. I'm not saying I would ever pay $900, but I'm saying maybe they're not heading in a completely insane direction with this.
Insane? What do you mean not completely insane? It's absolutely insane. It's ridiculously insane. $900 for a keyboard. I mean, that's like next level bachelor. I'm never going to have kids. This typewriter is my kids type insane.
It strikes me as a product similar to the Titan, the NVIDIA GTX Titan, where it's just that product that if you really want the best, here it is.
Is that keyboard going to type better than any other keyboard in the market?
No, but it's Resident Evil.
It's Capcom's Titan typewriter?
It's the best of Resident Evil memorabilia, and I think that's the approach they're trying to take.
I don't have any Resident Evil memorabilia to be able to combat that statement, but I feel like I need to go out and buy it all. I mean, I have all most of the Fallout special editions. Casey bought me a massive phone lineup Buster Sword, which is pretty badass. I'm really excited. I have a replica Darth Vader lightsaber. I have special editions for Uncharted games, Tomb Raider, every single Assassin's Creed special edition that has ever been in existence, except for the original Assassin's Creed special edition.
And that's the best one. How could you?
Listen, Casey's the one that admittedly loves Assassin's Creed more than me, and for obvious reasons. It's friggin' Assassin's Creed. And the only thing I could find her was an Altair action figure with a crustache. And I still don't hear the end of it. Not in a bad way, but it's just funny. Like, I got her a hidden blade as well, because who wouldn't want a hidden blade? I tried to look for a real one, but it turns out it's like classified as a legit weapon. And you have to find like a blacksmith that'll make it for you, and then you got to sign like waivers and stuff.
Not to mention how much it's going to cost. You're looking at, a couple thousand probably.
I mean, I'd do it. If I had money to blow out my rear end, I'd buy myself a hidden blade. I'd use it to cut watermelon though.
So hidden blade, yes. Keyboard, no.
I see where my priorities lie. You make a good point.
I think we just drove home the point though that it's for a very specific person.
It is, but seriously, who wouldn't want a hidden blade of watermelon?
I'd try it once.
Like I got kids, so they'd be screaming like, "Daddy, you want watermelon? Hold on!" Just pull it back in, and I'm just like, "Okay, I got this."
Yeah.
So Arudo says, "Are VR companies paying game companies to port games to VR?" That's a good question, and I would if I were like Oculus or HTC. I'd do that. Like, I mean, NVIDIA was doing that with their GameWorks program. That was the whole point, and then AMD kind of followed suit with their studio work stuff. But you basically give them a lump sum of money to develop under their platform, and you say like, oh, we're going to optimize it. It's going to be great, and because that's what sells stuff. There have been people, if you read through forums out there are people that buy NVIDIA specific games and then play it on an AMD card, and maybe they bought a card that's like $200 and it wasn't that much out of pocket a few years ago. And they buy a game that they're really looking forward to, and it's an NVIDIA GameWorks, and it's broken on their card, and they spend hours upon hours troubleshooting it, and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to go buy an NVIDIA card so I can play this game. I don't even care. That's kind of where that comes from. So it would make sense for VR companies to pay game studios to develop VR content, but see, Capcom, they're a mixed bag, because they only started really focusing on the PC market in their games since when? Like, I want to say Resident Evil 5.
Yeah,
Right?
very recent for sure.
It was Resident Evil 5 when they really started putting a lot of time and effort into it, and then Lost Planet came out on the PC, and then 2, and then Lost Planet 3. So Capcom is just now starting to realize that there is a market for them in the PC industry. So I myself am just shocked that they haven't imported the ability to make VR game or to make Resident Evil 7 VR capable. And the reason why is if you look at games, it was Alien Insurrection, right? Is that what it was?
Isolation.
Isolation, Insurrection.
Yeah.
Isolation. People enabled VR in that game just by changing a game file that already existed to enable VR.
Yeah, there's potential for a lot of games to become VR, but I don't really see the companies like HTC and Vive or sorry Oculus really.
I mean,
directly. I don't really
the
see them
Vive.
directly throwing money at companies to port these games, and it might come to that at some point because the wheels are very slowly turning for major titles coming to VR.
The wheels on VR go round and round.
I mean, they are turning, but
round and round.
we saw
Round and round. Wheels on the VR.
You good?
Round and round. All through not making a port. Speaking of ports, Rude also says the market's not big enough for games to make enough monies for ports. You're not wrong. I feel that game developers are going to have two deciding factors for making ports. Either it's wildly successful, so they're just going to port it over the PC, or they feel like it's the kind of game that's going to speak to a PC audience as much as it would consoles, so they're going to go, there you go. Or it's a game that was on PC to begin with, and for some reason now it's a console franchise, which legitimately has happened. Max Payne. Do you ever follow the Max Payne games? Did you ever play them?
I actually did play them. Those were some of the first M-rated games I ever played.
Dude, right? Same here. My brother just like slapped it down on my desk in my room one day after he got done playing the entire game in like 3 days, and he was like, play that.
They're intense.
And just like close the door. And you got to understand though, at this point in my life, I want to say 13 years old, and my brother and I had like a love-hate relationship. Like, he loved me because I had similar interests, but he hated how friggin' annoying I was as a 13-year-old, and trust me, it's much more annoying than I can be now. So if he ever came into my room or approached me and was like, dude, like, I took his recommendation seriously because he rarely ever like talked to me in that regard when I was that young. So I played that game and it was awesome. And it's funny because the guy who directed that game was the guy who played like the actor, which I didn't know until like a couple of years ago. So the guy who played Max Payne, like that was
I didn't know that.
the facial actor, because the voice actor was different. That was like the director of Max Payne, creator otherwise. And so when they came out with Max Payne 3, and all these console kids were like, oh, Max Payne. I think the second one came out for Xbox. It did, because I remember a classmate was asked me if I ever played the first one, and I just lulled at him.
Yeah, I played the first and the second. I actually rented them back to back.
Rented.
Yeah, back when Blockbuster was a thing.
Rented.
Yeah.
I feel old as hell now. God.
Back when Blockbuster was a thing, they had their Game Pass. You paid like $20 a month, and you just got as many games as you wanted. And
Yep.
those were a couple of games I played. Let's see.
I remember when I worked at Hollywood Video, we had a Game Pass too, and they lost so much money on it. We were told to never bring it up, and then if somebody said they wanted it, like we had to tell them, like, okay, here's your Game Pass, but just don't ever talk about it. Don't pitch it. I did anyway because I was a gamer, and I saw somebody. If I saw, like, my conscious dude, like, if I saw somebody coming into the store like 5 times a month selling games, and I'm like, dude, by the third time you could have paid for this already. Like,
That's how I found out about it.
Here's a Game Pass.
It wasn't really actively advertised. Like the
For
guy
good reason.
The guy was just like, I see you here a lot. Do you want to, sign up for the Game Pass? Like, yeah.
Did he like usher you back to the back of the store? Like, I see you here a lot.
That's what it felt like, but no.
Why don't you come here, little Zachary?
Robutu is saying the Japanese game companies don't know much about the PC market. There isn't much in PC gaming in Japan. On that topic,
oh no, Trigger!
Bandai has been saying that they're going to release a new Gundam Breaker for the PC, and after a horrible flop on the consoles, they delayed it indefinitely.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. I'm a huge Gundam fan, and it disappoints me that it was both, one, a flop, and two, it's delayed indefinitely, and are they going to try for the PC again? I don't know. And I really wish that more of these Japanese companies would just go for the PC. Just do it. It's a lot of them seem to favor PlayStation. I've noticed they just throw their games at PlayStation, and that's just where they go.
Yeah, I mean, well, Sony, as far as I've been told, their console at the moment, the PS4, is the easiest to develop to because it has a similar architecture to PCs. The processor in its x86, it's an IBM processor, or it's an AMD APU. So,
I mean, the Xbox is essentially the same thing, so it makes me wonder. There's got to be some sort of difference that makes the PlayStation more appealing to those companies.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not even the hardware, it's just the company.
Dean Powell said VR equals flail it until you make it. I mean, you're not wrong.
Some of the games, yeah.
We're going to start live streaming more games here soon, guys. We're going to make the schedule as about round the clock as we can possibly make it. We'll start a couple times a week, but then we'll likely go from like a couple times a week to every day of the week. And we'll have people that are specifically good at certain games live stream that when they can. VR is going to be one of those things. Zack and I will likely live stream a game or two first, and then we'll give VR a shot. I mean, you got to wait to see, you just have to see this to believe it, because we actually greened out a room, so like everything is like legit for VR. We'll have mixed reality set up in it, so if I'm sitting in a game, you'll actually see me in a perspective from that game. I'm almost tempted to feel like that we need to get costumes. You know, it's like if we're playing like a medieval game.
Would you like a cape?
We need to get chainmail. We need chainmail. Or I'll get a Green Man suit and just wear a Green Man suit, so you just won't see me at all. You'll just see like floating swords.
All I know is if you're going to get chainmail, I hope you're a lot stronger than you look. It's pretty heavy.
How would you know?
I just, I like to watch videos about blacksmithing and stuff. I'm a man of many interests.
I mean, the flannel matches that interest pretty well. I'm just saying. Like
blacksmith's flannel,
I got a flannel. It's a blacksmith's flannel, and I like to watch smithing. I like to watch people make swords. Broadswords, specifically.
So, on to our next topic. EA executive Patrick Suderland, I believe that's how it's pronounced.
Suderland.
He left the publisher after nearly 20 years. So, he actually started off as the leader of DICE, and then EA acquired the company in 2006. And then he moved into EA as executive vice president. So, it's, I can't say I'm really surprised to see him leave. Their turnover rate is probably one of the highest in the industry. Just for the type of business practices and the type of release schedule they try to maintain.
Yeah.
Employees just aren't happy there, and it's their turnover from their lower level employees is starting to creep up into the higher ranks, which is not something you normally see.
Sorry, Gerard W98 said in regards to our VR room, we need a Green Man suit it and then chroma key a close-up of Christopher Walken's face onto it. We could probably do that, but we won't.
Your impression is terrible.
It is terrible. It's so awful. You had to give me more time to work on it. I mean, what do you want from me? My question with this guy leaving EA, is this the end of microtransactions, or is unemployment in the game?
Maybe he even tried to oppose it, and that's why and then he just left.
He's the guy in a crowded room of everybody yelling at each other about how awesome microtransactions, and he just stands up amongst them all. Or maybe we don't do that.
He absolutely was, because he has publicly apologized for the company multiple times over these practices, and yet the company keeps doing it. And a lot of people see that as hypocrisy. And as far as the company is concerned, maybe, but you got to remember a company is a lot of individuals. So again, perhaps it was just him having a disagreement, and it was more so like, it's time for you to go, not I'm ready to move on.
Maybe. It's just, at the same time, this could just be BP strategy. Like, BP, you keep spilling oil into water. We're sorry. You just did it again last week. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like until I saw this news. That's what made me change my perspective on it a little bit.
I mean, we'll see. He did destroy major franchises like Star Wars and Mass Effect. I didn't think anybody could ever kill Mass Effect any more than just the writing to Mass Effect 3.
Mass Effect. What? Yeah, the animation was terrible.
No, just be you talk to somebody and she'd be like, "Hey, Shepard, why don't you go to the closet and get a broom? And if you won't get the broom, then maybe I will. Ha ha." Like, I remember.
It was like Godzilla.
Dude, I went on a friggin' tangent on social media about it because everyone's like, "I don't know, man, the facial animations are pretty bad." I'm like, stop being a stick in the mud. It's Mass Effect. We'll play it anyway. And Casey and I have our systems like elbowed at each other. So if like I'm on my PC and she's on hers, we can see each other. Mm-hmm. And she could just see, I guess, see it in my facial expression that I wasn't enjoying myself. And she was just like, "That bad, huh? That bad, huh?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I can't. I can't see past it. It's, oh my God, it's awful." And I kind of wept to myself in my hands and then used the tears that had gathered on my fingertips to eloquently write about it on social media about how terrible it was.
See, I am also a person that tried to look past that. I'm like, I played Bethesda games. It can't not be that bad, you know? So I played it.
But at least the Bethesda bugs are entertaining.
Right.
I mean, you could YouTube Bethesda bugs all day, and like before you know it, you're like, "Oh, it's 3 a.m."
Yeah, but I played through it. I'm like, okay, the animation, the interaction's bad. This doesn't feel like a Mass Effect game just because I don't feel truly engaged in the characters. So I'm like, maybe the world's the same. And then as the further I started to explore, the more repetitive it started to feel. It just made me sad, and I dropped it after like 15 hours or so. I really tried to enjoy it, and I'm just like,
You're like, "Where's Shepard?
there's nothing here.
Where's Shepard? This was pre-Shepard, and then halfway through the trip, this was during Shepard, and now it's after Shepard. Where's the timeline?"
They cut Commander Shepard into pieces and threw him out the window, or her, depending on
So he's
what
no
you
longer. So did Cerberus grab him again and piece him back together? Could you imagine what it'd be like if Cerberus, like,
5,000 years later, Commander Shepard 3000.
got the Commander Shep T1000? They put him back together, but they put him back incorrectly. So he only has like half of his face, and his lips and his hands are in place where it should, and he's like, and then you end up not playing Commander Shepard. You just shoot him dead, and that's the end. Yeah. I mean, just saying. Something kind of cool that first I want to address the recent comments that are both related to the EA topic. Mm-hmm. But Naruto said it's time to cash out in EA stock options. I mean,
maybe. I don't see the indication yet.
I don't see the possibility. And also, Elizabeth Atkins on YouTube makes a solid point that maybe he just decided he couldn't change things and he was tired of fighting a losing battle. So, see you later.
Yeah, I feel the same about it. I think that's the position he was in.
I think it's not just that. It's you also got to kind of imagine it's difficult too, because maybe when you have a company to where the consensus is we want to do things this way, and then you have a small group of people or one person that says no, we should do things this way, then at that point, yeah, you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision either that you're going to jump on board and you're going to give it your all, or you're just, it's not for me. Bye.
The impression I've gotten just based on the people leaving EA is it's mostly the higher ups that have the same consensus of microtransactions, and like naturally, the programmers and the people working on the games, they believe in fun.
They do, no, but I see both sides of the spectrum, because I see as a gamer that microtransactions are annoying. Listen, if microtransactions are done in the appropriate etiquette, there's nothing wrong with them. Meaning, if you make it impossible to advance in a game within a reasonable amount of time, but then you dangle a microtransaction in front of somebody and you're like...
That's the stuff that makes me sick.
Yes. Microtransactions for the sake of extras, like, do you want a different coat? $2. Okay, I want a new coat. Or you're somebody like me that's like, I don't care. But I still get, like, I get the experience of the game itself.
Yeah.
Without that coat or not.
I like cosmetics that, you can either choose to have them or not, which you most commonly see those with free-to-play games, but sometimes in paid games. But also, just having beefy DLC is also something that's great. Like, look at how Witcher handles DLC.
True.
I am more than happy. Here, take my money.
Right, dude. Dude, I bought all their expansion packs. I just haven't gotten around to it because at that point, I put over like 160 hours into it. And I didn't want to get burnt out. I was kind of already getting to that point. I'm like, I have no more side missions. I guess I'll do the main missions. And I got all the Witcher school outfits. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then like the next DLC came out. And I'm like, I'm going to take a break. Maybe I'll go back to it now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Rarudu says he hasn't bought an EA game since Mass Effect 3. I actually haven't bought an EA game since Battlefield 4, and I got that copy of Mass Effect from a friend.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time I bought an EA title, to be honest. Anything that was worth it.
And I would like to. I have a fond childhood memories of playing EA games. And
dude, a lot of them were sports games for me. Like, I played friggin' EA Soccer.
For me, it was the Need for Speed series.
Yeah, Need for Speed too. Like, I played all the EA games. Not all of them, but the ones that were just, like, worth the time back in the day. And now they're just more concerned with getting, they look at it more of a product than it is something that is enjoyment for people out there that kind of see past it and don't see it as a product, but a pastime.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate symptom of the company becoming as big as it has.
It is the cancer of the gaming industry, I will go as far to say, because it is. Sorry. I didn't mean to set you off, but it's my field. That's how I feel. Something interesting that I just recently learned, Nintendo Switch hackers have VR mode working.
I'm sorry, there's a VR mode?
Apparently, there is a hidden VR mode there's a slot in the Switch that essentially allows access to using a VR headset. And they got it working.
So what kind of...
Oatmeal Dome. Oatmeal Dome on Twitter. I was recently helping @Simon1844 with something, and I had to look at the AM services documentation. I noticed the ICOM state getter, : set VR mode enabled, boo, which was discovered around this time last year. Has anyone actually tried calling it? And so I just tried it, and the screen appeared. Interesting.
Huh.
It is a full-scale. That's
just
VR
plain
mode.
As day. It's not even hidden.
No, dude.
VR-enabled Boolean. It's right there.
Dude, that's crazy, too. And I'm gonna go ahead and toss a link to this so you can kind of see what we're talking about. Because it comes complete with screenshots, which is nice, right? And if this is kind of the direction that Nintendo plans on going with it and they start introducing VR, that's going to be pretty cool. Because honestly, I wasn't too impressed with VR for the PlayStation. That didn't entice me a whole lot. But Nintendo VR, I don't know whether to be excited or to feel it's off-putting if like all the Mario characters just start showing up around me. And I don't know how that would be.
It makes me wonder, though, because the onboard hardware for the Switch... I wouldn't think it's powerful enough for VR, so maybe they're planning on utilizing their dock for add-on hardware, maybe like an add-on graphics card.
I will say this. Right around when the Switch came out, I came across a Reddit thread of people that came across patent documents for a second dock for the Nintendo Switch. There was no name for it, but what they were able to gather from the specifications and the cited points within said document, they called out the same GPU that was used at the time in GTX 1060s.
So this definitely seems like a very real possibility that they are moving towards this.
I mean, it's the smartest thing they could possibly do. And people are like, oh, the bandwidth. Well, it's using USB 3.1C, or otherwise known as Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
The bandwidth possibilities are there.
There's about a 20 to 25% limitation, but I mean, that's not killer. You can still use the hardware connected.
No, it's not like back in the day when people were creating express slot PCI Express boxes that you'd put a card into a notebook's express card slot, and you're like, here, look, you get gaming graphics card in your notebook that uses 40% of the capability.
Yeah, that's a lot similar to the type of hardware that miners use.
And it's very similar.
Essentially the same thing.
Dude, it's very similar. And how amazing that would be to be able to take your Switch and throw it in a dock, and boom, it's got 4K. Dude,
Yeah.
they could milk that train for as long as they wanted to. Rather milk the cow and ride the train. Or ride the train that's got cows in it and milk that cow while you're in that train that you're riding. I mean, seriously, they could do that until the end of time, until people got sick of like the Switch.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter. They would be able to stay relevant. It's one of the smartest things that NVIDIA and Nintendo could have possibly thought about if this is true.
Yeah.
And I would continue to buy Nintendo products for as long as they did that. So,
it would be interesting to see what they do with the games, though, if they put that kind of add-in hardware on there. Like, how are they going to scale back and forth between portable or docked, or is it they're going to be like dock-exclusive games?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
They would have to have...
It's a huge difference in performance.
I mean, here's what they could do. They could put a protocol on it that the moment that it recognizes it's not switched to a dock, it just emits a loading screen, it changes graphics settings or scaling, and then boom, you're done.
Yeah.
You know, but that is a good point. And I'm sure that is all something that will be answered in time. But for now, folks, it does look like that our live stream is coming to an unfortunate end. But do stay tuned until next week. We'll have more news for you, and it's either going to be a lot more tangent heavy or it's going to be news heavy. I don't know.
Or maybe everything will be on fire.
I can't predict the future, but I'm certainly open to anything, especially if somebody's on fire. If it's Zack, maybe he'll jump through fiery hoops, and that's how it happens. I don't know. Can't make any promises, but do stay tuned for more news and updates. Make sure that if you like the stream, you like and subscribe so you can stay on top of any time that we decide to do streams, because who knows? Maybe we'll shift away from Fridays and we'll do Thursdays or Monday mornings.
Sounding pretty wild.
Thursdays are wild. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. You have a great weekend. I'm Joe.
I'm Zack.
See you later.
Take care.